parents already, hey guys, just get out there, and then we just run.
That was Musa Abdallah in February 2019, a refugee who came to Utah and eventually became a wildland firefighter. He was talking about a close call he had while working to protect Utahns. Welcome to our In Focus discussion tonight, refugees in law enforcement. Most refugees have a remarkable story of escape, fear, and uncertainty before arriving to the U.S. These are people who, if given the choice, would not have left their home country but had to under dire circumstances. And that some would join law enforcement to protect our community speaks to their character, work, ethic, and dedication to their adopted homeland. Joining us now live via Zoom is Deputy Eftin Eftin, originally from Kenya and now living in Utah. Deputy Eftin, thank you so much for joining us tonight and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Deputy, can you tell us about your story, about how and why you left Kenya?
Kenya, I sure can. Well, I was actually born in Somalia and then moved to Kenya. But basically, we left Kenya and came to the US just to have a better life and education.
And how long ago was that you had to travel from Kenya to here?
I've been here since I was 8 years old, so 2003.
Wow, okay. And so that's how long that you've been in Salt Lake City. Tell us about why you wanted to become a law enforcement officer. What inspired you?
I chose law enforcement because where I'm from in Kenya, there is no law enforcement. Let's say if something were to happen to you, you have no help. The only help you have is your family. And when I came to America, I learned about the police, how you help people that are in need, and that interested me a lot, and I wanted to give back to the country because this country basically saved my life.
I love that you have a personal story that inspired you to get into law enforcement. Can you tell us about what did you learn at the academy and what do you do now for your job?
The academy prepared me and gave me the skills and knowledge that I'm going to need to survive in my field. Right now, I am currently on the security team. I respond to all emergencies, medical responses, fights, and everything else I'm needed to do, and I enjoy it.
How has becoming a law enforcement officer changed how you are viewed in the Kenyan community?
You're looked as a leader. Basically, parents, they're having an issue, they come up to you and be like, hey, can you talk to my kid? Can you tell him that the path that he's heading or she is heading is not the right one? Just give them advice, have a conversation with them, and just help them translate with whatever they need, pretty much.
Is your family proud to see you working in law enforcement now?
Very.
That's good to hear. Do you ever think about going back to Kenya when it is safe to do so?
Someday I would love to go visit, but right now is not the moment.
Do you think that your law enforcement training will help you if you return and visit Kenya?
It'll definitely make me be a little bit more aware of my surroundings, but I only plan on visiting and not living there permanently. So.
Well, Deputy Eftin, when you think about the future and your career in law enforcement, what do you think about? What makes you excited, and how has your journey been so far up to this point?
It's been great. Everybody at the office has been helpful. When I think of the future, I want to do more things within the community. I want to help kids, probably teach classes and then teach them to head in the right directions before they end up going to jail and stuff. So that's the plan.
Deputy Eftin, if there is a refugee who is watching our interview tonight and maybe they're thinking about joining law enforcement, what would you say to them? Do you have maybe words of advice or words of encouragement for them if they're a little scared or afraid to go through with this choice?
Yeah, I would tell them to go for it. I was once in their shoes. I was scared. The process is not easy, but with hard work, you can do anything. And it's a wonderful and rewarding career, and you'll enjoy it.
Well, we are so appreciative to hear about your journey tonight. You've been hearing from Deputy Eftin Eftin with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. Deputy, thank you so much for being on our show tonight and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Leaving your own home, leaving everything behind, going to start a new life in the country where you don't even know the language, the cultures, all those kind of things are the hardest parts.
That was Saeed Issa back in 2019, talking about the difficulties of acclimating to Utah. Every year, our state welcomes anywhere between 400 to 1,200 refugees who have been displaced by civil war or political unrest. Thanks for staying with us for our second In Focus discussion tonight on refugees in law enforcement. Joining us now live via Zoom is Chief Deputy Matt Dumont, who oversees the human resources and academy that refugees like Deputy Eftin attended. Chief Deputy, thanks for making time to be part of our discussion tonight. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you too, Rosie. Thank you for having us.
Let's talk about the decision to reach out to the refugee communities to become cadets. What prompted or what inspired this effort?
Well, the decision was very easy. The candidates and the employees that we've seen are smart, motivated, hardworking people of the highest character. And it's like you pointed out, as the refugee community is growing, it's becoming a more important part of Salt Lake County. We want to make sure that its members are part of our community. Our current office members are just incredible about referring and recruiting others from the refugee community. So they've been very instrumental in our recruiting efforts.
Are the refugee cadets in a special program, or are they with other cadets from all walks of life? And why did your department make the decision in that choice?
Well, they're not part of a special program. They're in the academy with every other candidate that we hire. That allows a real sense of team to start forming with our members. And they also get the opportunity to learn from each other's diverse life experiences and perspectives.
I love that. No special treatment, no separation. That way everybody gets acclimated with one another, and we need to normalize that, truly. Has your department faced any challenges of enrolling refugees into the program?
You know, one of the challenges is that at times it's difficult to get documentation from the candidate or the employee's home country. So historically, a lack of documentation has been a little bit of a challenge. I think more for the prospective employees, but for those who dig in and are able to get their documentation, making law enforcement a career is a real opportunity. So we do require, and it's not us, currently the state law requires that peace officers are U.S. citizens. They have to have a copy, both the sheriff's office and post need a copy of their naturalization papers if they're a naturalized citizen. And the cadets go through the same strenuous process that every other member of our sheriff's office go through. That includes testing, background investigations, and a series of interviews. I would like to point out that Senator Karen Maine is currently running SB 102, which will allow every law enforcement agency in Utah to hire anyone who has legally been in the United States for 5 years and is a permanent resident. And again, that's something that will help us hire more individuals who are currently working towards their full citizenship status.
Well, that's great news if the bill were to pass, because I know that we've done stories in the past about how there's a shortage for law enforcement all across the country and also in our state. So if that bill passes, hopefully that's going to help with that shortage. Now, how many refugee cadets has your department trained, and how have they been doing?
Well, first of all, they've been doing wonderfully. We currently have 3 refugees who are in our ranks, they've graduated the academy and are currently working for the sheriff's office. And then we have 2 that are currently in the academy. They're also working for the sheriff's office, but they're achieving their peace officer certifications.
Can you give us an idea of those who are now working for your department? What kind of work are they doing now?
So I'm the Corrections Bureau Chief. So Eftin had talked about his role as a member of our security division, responding to emergencies. I believe the two additional refugees who are working in the jail work in our housing division, and they're doing everything from responding to emergencies, running day-to-day operations in housing unit, making sure that the people in our facility are safe and that the facility is secure.
Do you have any stories that you could share with us about maybe how having a refugee on staff may have helped the department in a unique way because of culture and understanding?
I'm sure there are times when, we see the jail is often just a reflection of the community, and as our community grows and the refugee community grows in Salt Lake, we're bound to see individuals coming through the facility who are of that part of that refugee community also. And Eftin's probably better situated to answer this question, but I would imagine if you're in a new country and part of the refugee community, and maybe this is your first time involved in the criminal justice system, having somebody who you can speak with, somebody who has been through the process of moving to a new country, may be comforting and help you through that process.
Chief Deputy Dumont, we have time for one more question. I'd like to give you the final word. What would you like our viewers at home to know tonight, maybe about the program, about the refugees that you have on staff, or anything else that we didn't get a chance to talk about?
Like I said, the people in the refugee community are some of the finest people that you will meet in some of the finest people I've ever met. They're some of the bravest. I couldn't imagine moving to a new country where there's likely a different language that's spoken and just a different culture to acclimate to. So the people that do come to our country, like I said, they're smart, they're motivated and hardworking, and some of the finest people that I've met.
Well said. You've been hearing from Chief Deputy Matt Dumont with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. Chief Deputy, thank you so much for giving us your insight on the Refugee Cadet Program. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Rosie.
We're talking about 68.5 million people have been forcibly displaced by civil war, political unrest, and many other inhumane conditions. So we want our community to see that, refugees need our help.
That was Aiden Batar from Catholic Community Services back in 2019, talking about the obstacles refugees experience before coming to this country and the other obstacles they face once they arrive in the U.S. Welcome to our third and final In Focus discussion tonight on refugees in law enforcement. During our conversation now live via Zoom is Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera. Sheriff Rivera, thank you so much for making time for us tonight. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you too, Rosie, and thank you for having me.
Let's start our discussion off with talking about diversity. In your opinion, why is it beneficial to have diversity in the Sheriff's Office?
Well, I think it's very important that any workforce represents the communities that we work for. A sheriff is elected by the community. And it's only right that I would think that bringing our communities into our workforce would be very important. Also, I'm a person of color, so I understand diversity and how important it is for people of color, refugees, to have the same opportunities and to be able to be in a position where you can help our communities. Our jail is very diverse in the individuals who come to our jail, and we house them. So it just makes sense that our employees are diverse and look like our communities and can communicate to those who we have in our facility.
Yeah, we agree. Representation matters. How does the special status of refugee add another level of diversity, and how does it help the sheriff's office? And maybe why are refugees important to include in law enforcement?
Well, I think, you know, the refugee population has been growing for several years, and in law enforcement, I've been able to see that. One thing that I've noticed is our young kids growing up who are refugees, they need good role models. And if there's something that we can do in law enforcement to help them learn how to, you know, stay out of trouble, maybe stay out of our jail, and by employing them, they can be on the other side, working in the jail, not being arrested. And it's just a really good way to mentor our refugees. They're such an important part of our communities. And I just feel like we're doing the right thing by finding ways to let them be part of law enforcement. Law enforcement is so important to the safety of the community, and we are good role models for those young people.
I think you bring up a very important point. Even you yourself, Sheriff, like there's young girls who are looking up to you, whether they're young women or young individuals who are people of color. It's important for us in all aspects, law enforcement, first responders, right, journalism, to have those people in these positions to show them that like you can do this no matter what your background is. Now, are there other law enforcement agencies also doing outreach to refugee communities, or is Utah and your department leading the way on this?
Well, I really think that Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office has always been very progressive and forward thinking. And I would hope that other agencies are seeing what we're doing and understand how important it is to be diverse in law enforcement, in the corrections, and even out on the road. And, you know, we work really hard to make sure that it's being noticed throughout our community. Anytime we have a good story to tell, we're going to tell it.
Have you had any surprises with the success of this program?
I think my biggest surprise was when we had the graduation. And I still remember when Eftin, and I know you just interviewed him earlier, graduated. I was surprised to see the amount of family members who came out to support him. I thought because, you know, many refugees come from countries where law enforcement are looked at differently and they may have not had a good interaction with law enforcement, that they may be hesitant to come. But they came in a large group, extremely close family, and you know, it was really a good feeling to see that. And it was a good feeling for us to let them know that they are welcome into our family, our corrections family, our Salt Lake County Sheriff's family.
That's really a pivotal moment for them to grow up in a country where law enforcement was viewed at negatively, and to have one of their own in this industry and to change that perspective for them has got to be a pivotal moment. What are the next steps for involving refugees in the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office?
Well, our next steps are we're going to continue to recruit. And how we do that is we changed a little bit of the way that we recruit. When we do our recruiting posters, we are putting a diverse group of individuals, of our employees who work in our facility and work out on the, you know, our public safety bureau. We make sure that it is a diverse group of men, women, people of color. And when, you know, we do the recruiting, people see that and they think, hey, that looks kind of like me. Maybe I can do that. I think I might try it out. And that's something that we're going to continue to do because we think it's working. It's going to take a little bit longer to see how much it works for us. But right now, you know, we have 2 in the academy, 3 employed. That's a lot for a refugee community. And overall, the Sheriff's Office, for the sworn deputies, it's 27% diversity. So that's a lot. That's a large number.
That is so good to hear, and we wish you the best in your recruiting efforts. You've been hearing from Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera. Sheriff Rivera, thank you so much for making time for us tonight and to share your insight on this topic.
Thank you.